This is Faye from Faye's World Media, and today is day 27 of my 30-day live. And all right, I'm verifying my video. My audio is good so far. I've been going live by myself since the very beginning. And if you were to ask me now how I feel about this, I mean, is this even a good use of my time? How does this improve, or negatively impact my productivity? Well, I would say that I've learned a tremendous amount of being consistent with my content, with the way I go live on days where I don't feel like going live or don't feel like I have enough to say. What I tend to do on those days is I tend to research more as opposed to relying on the information I already know or comfortable talking about. But depending on where you are in this world, I just want to say that Merry Christmas if you're celebrating. If not, well, maybe this is an excuse to have a productive day. So before we get into it, if we're meeting for the first time, hey, I'm Faye from Faye's World Media. I started my YouTube channel in 2019, started my podcast in 2014, and have been an entrepreneur full-time since 2016, actually. So learning so much every single year, and productivity is a really big deal. Productivity along with time management. But I'm going to start with something very different today. I would love to get your feedback, your comments on what works for you, what doesn't work, perhaps. Hello, Malcolm. Merry Christmas to you as well. Look at that. I didn't think I was going to get anyone really stopping by to say hi, but this is really helpful. These days, when I think about productivity, it's not so much about, oh, how do I generate more dollar amount? How do I prove to other people that I'm productive? How can I talk about all these things I learned, these workshops I've taken to brag on YouTube? I think we need to reevaluate the word productivity. It's used universally, but how does it really benefit your life or at this stage of your life? So I think when looking at productivity, it's important to think about those specific goals and measurement to you. How are you managing your energy? Just because you're productive, right? Like on paper, you're generating a lot of money, maybe growing your business, checking a lot of things off the list. That feels really good. Don't get me wrong. But how are you managing your energy? Is that sustainable? If it's not, I argue that's not really productivity. It's called burnout. So yesterday in our video, as part of my live stream, I get really deep into self-care. So on that note, on day like Christmas, that's something I want to focus on, because immediately after these family get-togethers, and here comes 1st of January, it is really important, and it's often happens that we look at our schedule calendar to say, oh my goodness, I spend all the time traveling on the road, hanging out with my family and friends, but I'm really behind on these things I thought I was going to get done during the holiday season. So I think it's important. Hey, if you're here, please say hi. So good to see you guys here. Really, I really appreciate you. Let me know what you are planning on doing in terms of productivity and time management right now or into the new year. So these days, I definitely really pay close attention to my energy. And guys, if I may just say this, people don't talk about it. I think sleeping enough is so important. And I don't really buy into the simple, oh, follow this formula, wake up at 3 in the morning because this guru says so. I think our energy center and our, biological clock and the way that we are oriented is just really different. You may also notice that maybe some days you are sleeping for 8, 9 hours a day, and sometimes you don't need as much. So this whole routine and follow the clock thing, it's actually quite stressful. It's important, as I learned recently, that you need to follow your own rhythm and find your center. And sometimes, when we get sick, when we have a cold or something, it's hard to talk about those topics right now, but you tend to sleep a lot. You almost feel like you can't help it with all the medication. But then sometimes coming out of certain illness, that you almost feel a little more recovered as a result, because you actually had to set time aside to yourself. So I'm a strong believer that in order to create productivity, step number one is to pay attention to rest, to self-care. So with that said, let's actually talk about some of the tips to actually increase productivity and get more done in a shorter period of time. Number one, time boxing is so important, guys. Now that I'm a caregiver for my mom is in generally in good health, but I have to bring her to her medical appointments, physical therapy sessions recently. Frankly, if you look at my calendar, somebody could easily argue to say, Faye, you're better off, recording, editing videos. Trust me, I like to get some of that time back. But I noticed that on a weekly basis, whenever I need to bring my mom to her appointment, let's say 10 or 11 in the morning, I've slotted maybe only 45 minutes to get something done at that time. It's awkward. It's not too long, not too short. And I become laser focused, guys. And I know some of you guys that are also caregivers and your parents and you're taking care of someone. And while that is stressful and it feels overwhelming, but once you time block something, it gets done. Today is Christmas. I have a very small family, and I also have families in China, families living in other parts of the US. So I am not traveling. I haven't been traveling much for holiday seasons. And I noticed that today, you know what? It's super quiet. I don't get a ton of emails in my inbox for the first time in a while. And I'm just going to really look through my to do list and go through what I wanted to get done. I'm going to get into the methods in a second, too. The whole analog, situation, the style is still very helpful. I know I'm literally writing on the back of an envelope. Last night before I went to sleep, I started writing things down to say I want to look into some of the things. And when you write something down, and for me to go to sleep, I'm not thinking about this less anymore. I'm thinking, well, I don't remember what I wrote down, but I will pay attention to them when I wake up the next day. I'm going to go through them in order. And that's it. That actually reduces a lot of the stress. And let me pop on some of the things here. Okay. So I know I'm blocking myself. All right, so this is actually very helpful since on Instagram, if you're viewing this on mobile, you'll notice. Actually, I want to make sure that Instagram is. Oh, I think I actually forgot to broadcast on Instagram. So sorry, guys. But if you're on Instagram right now looking at productivity, it's actually easier because on mobile, it chops off like the stuff on the side. But there's such thing as the 135 rule for time management. And I kind of like this approach. On a daily basis, as you begin a day, what you don't want to do is to basically give yourself all the big major tasks, like all 12 things. Instead, it says, big task, for content creators like ourselves, film a new video segment. Maybe it's scripting, we're batch scripting a bunch of videos. Medium tasks, draft a new marketing email, research a course topic, plan for future blog posts. Small tasks, post on LinkedIn, post on Facebook, meet with a team member, upload a video or audio file, something that's already been done. By categorizing the task and being realistic about how much time you actually accomplish in a day, you can really master your workflow. I think that is easier said than done. I think we've all been there. I'm still going through that on the daily of number one, learning about ourselves. So in an earlier session, what I talked about was actually time tracking. Again, we're all very different. I look at myself today versus some of the digital marketing related tasks 10 years ago or 20 years ago when I first gotten started. I am a lot more efficient and effective now because I'm familiar with this, not just the hardwired tasks or the technical tasks. I also have much higher confidence for managing my clients. So I sort of know what to expect. I know how to write an email so that is very clear. And I know it'll calm down some of my clients as well. So yeah, so focus on a system that works for you. Now, I want to share something else also in the middle of the screen here. And this is called the Eisenhower Matrix. This is another productivity method that's really interesting, that's worked really well for me. And there are plenty of YouTubers talking about this too, which is categorizing your tasks. And remember to do, delegate, schedule, and delete. Let's take a closer look. What is do? Doing something today, right now. You have to take actions. So things that are urgent and it's important. What is something that you can delegate? And those tasks are urgent, but not that important. Speaking of delegation, I have a team of 3 people: my editor, strategist, my content manager, and my social media manager. So I've delegated a lot of things off of FaceWorld. Number 3 here is called schedule. Schedule something on your calendars, not something that you need to hop on right now. That means it's not urgent, but important. You don't want to forget about it. Things like this envelope that I was showing you from before. Lastly, delete. Things are not urgent and not important. They shouldn't stay on your to-do list at all. So I think these frameworks today, I hope they bring some level of clarity. And I really, whatever it is, it's important for us to find something that works for us. And it's really important when it comes to productivity and time management to learn and change our behaviors gradually. So people say that it usually takes about, 30, 45 days, 60 days to really adapt a new habit. But the most important is that activation energy. It's about committing. So when I started the 30-day series, I was really excited, but literally the day before and the day off, I was thinking, ooh, it's probably a really bad idea. It's probably going to interfere with all the all these things on my list that I needed to do. But it didn't because it's carved out time. And on top of that, I learned to interview other people. I've so far interviewed, I think, 3, maybe 4 people during my 30-day live. It's easier, guys, because I just tell these people I've always wanted to interview and say, you know what? I got these slots. I got these topics already pre-planned. We can, of course, go off tangent a little bit, but what do you think? And those people just schedule those time, at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It was really great. Now, I want to talk about, this is not really about gadgets, but another thing that a lot of people tend to use are these, I call them fancy planners. They really don't have to be super fancy. This one in particular is called the Panda Planner. And this was very popular a few years ago. And the idea of this was that for each day of the week, you plan out the year. You plan out the month. I'll show you. So there you go. This is your month. And then you get into, let's see, upcoming weeks, and then you get into the weekly planner. It looks like this. This is an empty page. And then from there, you just plan out your day, your day and date. You have your morning review, you have your affirmations, those are really important. You have your focus, you have your exercise. For me, the exercise, not just me practicing, learning something new, it's actually stretching, all kinds of yoga poses and mobility movements. Today's priority, and this is really interesting. I think we talked about 1, 3, 5, right? So priorities, you got 5 slots, and it's done purposely, instead of going on for pages and pages, you have a set of things you must get done and it's prioritized. So this kind of format, again, you don't have to buy this notebook or planner. You can just do so on I forgot those really popular, famous notebooks, but you can just design this on your own. And look at this. I'm so glad to hear this. Hey, Faye, I also write lists on back of envelopes. I know, and these days I don't even have so many. It's so funny. Like I always get these like spam mails, right? And it's so handy. And or I get bills all the time now that I have a house, and there are a lot of these empty envelopes. I pay everything online. So like who's really gonna put a check in here and really mail it out? So I got plenty of these things. It's very helpful. But let me tell you guys about Pomodoro Methods as well. If you're new to Pomodoro, look it up. Let me actually drop it in the Pomodoro method right here. So I just dropped it in the chat wherever you are. Thanks to my colleague, Helena Escalante, who introduced me to Pomodoro. I was like, oh, that's cute. What does it mean? How does it work? So it's basically about blocking your time into these 25-minute chunks. And each segment has a 5-minute break. That is mandatory. Well, you can keep going if you want to, but the idea is that you want to get up, refresh, and then come back down again. So I noticed with Pomodoro, sometimes 25 minutes isn't enough for me to finish a more major task. So I've tried to increase it to 45 minutes, but then I give myself maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes after that, to have a longer rest. And I'll also notice, and during that time, these days, I love hot chocolate. I'll literally do something that makes me happy. I might grab a piece of dark chocolate. I might make something, some of my favorite drinks, and then coming back to work. And it is so overlooked because when we're young and when we are feeling really energized, especially when you're like going through deep work, it feels those rests are unnecessary. But I'm telling you, it's going to catch up with you. I would say that recently I had a really bad episode of sciatica. They usually back in the day, a few years ago, you should just go away after, I don't know, a couple of days, a few days. Recently, the sciatica was like just catching up, and I had it for maybe 2 to 3 weeks. And that's why I'm very religious about like mobility training, stretching, and going through PT myself. And you have to get up from your desk no matter what. I have a sitting and also standing desk with me. This one is bought from Amazon. It's actually not that expensive. I always thought that these like one piece standing desk is going to be totally not affordable. It's not true. And I always stand up as I'm switching positions, standing, sitting, it definitely offers more relaxation and definitely relief on my back in particular. So paying attention to that, it's really important. All right, that's the Pomodoro method. Let's see what else. I think those are really helpful. Please let me know what you have tried to improve productivity and time management on your end. And yeah, I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, which is I use Google Calendar. I don't know what you use, but in my Google Calendar, I make sure to create different variations. I have my personal, professional, freelance, I have my live stream calendars. And I even put down things such as breakfast and after breakfast walk. I have my, mid-afternoon snacks. I have these things all planned out. What do I go off schedule? Of course I do. But having them there is an indication that I put myself first, self-care before productivity, where self-care is going to aid you in productivity and help you live a much better life. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, I mean, productivity is a facade. If you don't have your energy, don't have your health there. So much love to this community. Whoever's watching this right now, guys, and I know you're taking time away from your family, from your productivity, but to join me here, and I just want to say I really appreciate you. I appreciate all the messages I've gotten during this past month or so as I'm going live on the daily. And, I think some of the encouraging messages, even recently with Margot Aaron, in a previous episode, I talked to her about cohort learning. And she said, she doesn't really live in the New England area anymore, and to be able to see my content go live, and it gave her joy. I know that's a simple message, but it means so much to me. And at the same time, there are people probably thinking, excuse the language, be like, oh my God, why do I have to go live every day? Are you some sort of attention whore? I must say that it's sometimes, it's not easy going live, and it's not really about me selling things or trying to convince you of certain things. But I'm here trying to share a conversation. I really think that the earlier, the sooner, and the more regularly we have this type of conversations, the better off we're going to be as everyday content creators. And you don't need a million, half a million followers to build your own business and to have that kind of freedom. And having gone through what all of us have gone through in the past 2 years is very revealing that this is possible, that you can work from home, enjoy yourself, and spend more time with your loved ones. So thank you so much for watching again. I'll be back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or noon Pacific Time. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Sending love to all the people out there. And thank you for hopping on. There's so many of you guys right here. Let me know. Maybe I should stay on a little longer. If you have any questions, please drop me a comment. Today, we're talking about productivity and time management. It's something that's it's not, yeah, it's not overrated. We have to learn more. And I would also like to mention my mentor, Dory Clark, mentions that whenever she does something, it's always three things to accomplish three things. And so the three things are, learning something new, making a connection, maybe selling more products, being able to promote a service or something, or a message. So yeah, it is incredible. So if you are considering live streaming as well, please do it. I'm using Restream. I have no co-host. And literally all I have to do is push a button, I'm live. And for this event series, I'm actually doing a lot more just because I'm pre-planning the topics as opposed to going live spontaneous and decide on that day what I'm talking about. And that's always an option too. I've seen so many people gone live in the past 2 years. I give a shout out to Tom Schwab. Tom runs this incredible company to match podcasters with podcast guests. He was going live with his daily learnings every single day on LinkedIn, and it's just incredible. So with that said, I'm going to go back to my today's productivity routine, which is I am now editing, updating a series of my Zoom videos. They're actually like 35 of them. And I'm going through the old videos and I'm building this online academy called The Ultimate Guide to Zoom 2022. And here's me practicing why I'm doing this. Because right now, as of right now, in the past 2 years, my Zoom videos, tutorials related to Zoom webinar, moderation, Zoom for fitness instructors, for dancers, for musicians and artists, they have received well over 1 million views. And I thought I could really kind of launch this new product in January 2022 with all the updated information. So that's what I'm doing. And guys, if you are thinking about starting something new, it really helps to niche down. So for instance, like there's so many Zoom guides out there already. And at the beginning, I was thinking I'm just going to create this one, the ultimate guide to Zoom to help people get started. But a lot of people have already gotten started. They're actually quite comfortable being on Zoom. But I want to create specific modules and guides for people in a different career path or have very specific needs, such as artists and musicians and fitness instructors. And so that's an opportunity, as I'm mentioning. It's not about productivity, is not really about working harder. So the example I shared just now is about me going back and revisit my existing Zoom videos and update as needed, and then notice where the gaps are, and I'll just fill in the gaps. So sometimes I guess productivity and time management requires you to go through something much harder, which is to go through maybe your old writing, your old videos, and in conjunction with evaluating your strategy. I had so much struggle this morning and last night. I was preparing for today, back of the envelope, that I knew I had to go back to through my old YouTube Zoom videos, update them, and even just like having to rewatch them and also remove the ads from YouTube so I can use them as course content. Oh, I was just really going through the moment. I had to write to my producer, Herman, to say, I don't know. I knew it was the right thing to do, but it was just so hard. It's just super hard for us to rewatch our own videos and reread our own writing. But it was so helpful this morning, given Christmas, guys. Like if you want to activate something today, tomorrow is a great way because all the restaurants are closed and you're not getting a ton of your client emails. Today, right now, is a great time to activate something that you've wanted to do or try, for sure. So this morning, with very little distraction, I actually slept in, right? And I was able to edit maybe 7 or 8 videos already. So if you are like me, you have content somewhere, like on a different platform, such as on YouTube, one of the things you have to do is to actually trim down the video, which means like you may have to cut out the beginning. I have this like all the YouTube intros and then the outros. I also have messages like, hey, if you like this video, subscribe and, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I try to go through that and just cut those things out. It's super smart. Another area related to productivity is recently I've been in touch with this brand called Uscreen. One moment. And they taught me something. So while I'm talking about Uscreen, this is not a sponsor message. I learned something, which was like there's so many YouTubers out there, like fitness, music instructors. They were able to, instead of like reshoot everything, they're able to take all their YouTube videos and just launch them on another platform. So for me, I love Podia. Uscreen is another one that's very optimized for video content, and people will subscribe. You may be wondering, like, what? Like, why would people subscribe to a list of videos that they can easily watch on YouTube? It's simply because that people really hate ads. That's number one. Like, once you launch your existing videos on a learning platform such as Podia or such as Uscreen or Teachable, Thinkific, you can think of ways to leverage existing content and create more value for your folks, for people who follow you. Removing ads is one, giving them a better user experience, right? Instead of relying on YouTube's playlist algorithm, because people are always getting prompted with this type of content out of order. So instead of, it's hard to, even for anyone to go to my channel right now with hundreds of videos to find exactly what they're looking for. I mean, frankly, if they were to ask me, I have to really reconsider and think that through too. So you could, again, repurpose your content. I have a whole live stream video on don't just work harder, work smarter. Like think about how much of the existing content you can repurpose, not just cutting down videos, but videos can become transcripts. Transcripts can become quote cards. Podcast, same thing, podcast to transcripts. Podcast has, video as well as audio formats. And what else? Yeah, I mean, it's really incredible. Anything you recommend through your podcast, you can also talk about via a social media post. And those are the things that are really amazing for virtual assistants and content managers. And I have a separate video for how to hire as well. So I'm so grateful on the day of Christmas that so many people happen to be here. And please know that I'm monitoring these channels. Whenever you have questions, just leave those to me on social media, on my YouTube channel. I go through and reply to these comments about twice a week anyway, and providing value to people and helping you out, even just one person at a time, one question at a time. So it's just incredible. So love once again. I know this has become a goodbye that I don't happen to leave because I don't want to leave. I'll edit more videos And I hope you do something really interesting and fun too, and let me know all about it. I'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love. Bye. Mwah.